Welcome to another episode of Charlie Drives. Today we are finally going to have a more detailed look at Alex's new Land Rover Defender. We've had it for just under a week now, so you may have seen the collection video. If you haven't already seen that video, click on the link up there and take a look at that, because it was kind of fun and it was pretty special. I'm really proud of the fact that she's gone ahead and taken the jump. It is a bit of a risk, but at the same time I actually feel quite confident that these cars are going to command and hold their value a little bit better than perhaps your usual or standard maybe Discovery or something like that. So I think because this is following in the iconic Defender's footsteps, it definitely has something going for it. So that was one of the main reasons why, as a car, it made sense to go from what she had before, which was a Discovery Sport. She had that for quite a few years. She didn't buy that one new, but moving from that to this seemed like a sensible option. So we're going to talk through the car in detail. I'm also going to measure it because a lot of people have kind of gone, why are they calling it the Defender 110 when actually it's closer to 120? So we'll measure that and prove the theory. But yeah, I'm going to talk you through, I'm going to give you a bit of a walk around at the moment just to sort of show you, as I said, the detailed specifications that we've chosen on this particular car, the colour options that we went with. I think actually, I think hopefully you'll agree, look really good. I think the white roof really sets it off very nicely as well. So yeah, let's see how this goes. First things first, let's measure this thing. Right, so I have bought with me can't open it. So I've got the key in my pocket. You press this button here to unlock the car door. So it's a little bit different. It's not kind of, it's not like her old car where you could literally just walk up to it and open the handles if you had the key in your pocket. You actually have to press this button here in order to unlock the car, and then that's locked it. Not doing very well here. So press this button, unlock the car, and it will open. So that's one of the first things to sort of get used to. You have got these buttons that you kind of need to get used to, and you actually have to press them before you start yanking on the door handle. So let's measure this thing. So the way that you measure wheelbase, for those who might not know, is you go from the middle of the wheel to the middle of the front wheel to the middle of the back wheel. So let's see exactly what our trusty tape measure says about the length of this particular car. So I'm going to call that about 120, I think 120 inches. I think the official measurement is actually 119 or something, to be completely accurate. But yeah, so one of the comments on the first video was very much, why did they call it the 110 when it's actually 120? Totally get why they did it. Marketing purposes. They never made a Defender 120, I don't think. They made a Defender 130, they made a Defender 110, and they made a Defender 90. So I absolutely love what they've done with the back here. The design is incredible. The iconic circles in squares throughout the whole of the car. It's really quite cool with regards to the lights. So that's a bit of a really nice nod back to the original Defender. I love the way that this door opens. It's fantastic. Really great. And of course you have a huge amount of space here. You've got a lot of height up here as well, so you can fit so much in this. But this area here, it's rubberized. It feels like you're not going to have loads of things slip around. One of the biggest criticisms I had of my Suzuki Jimny that I owned for a couple of months was that they had this kind of texture, but it was that sort of very slippery plastic. So everything that you put in the back would just slide around. That doesn't happen as much here. And I know that also you can get an option for this particular car to have an additional rubber plate, so that I suppose it would minimize the scratches if you're starting to put some heavy duty stuff in there. But generally they've done a really nice job with this. One of the things that I did find a bit surprising actually, in fact, is that this particular model, and I couldn't see anywhere on the spec for this, the first edition Defenders actually come equipped with a charging socket. And when I say charging socket, I mean you get a domestic plug socket with the first edition Defender, and I couldn't see anywhere on the spec sheet or when we're speccing out the car on the website, and I've done this actually over the last few days to see where that particular option is. It only seems to exist as a standard feature on the launch edition or the first edition of the Defender, which is really quite interesting. But the one thing that I would say about the car, and I'll do a bit of an in-depth overview of the interior in a bit, is that the car has got charging sockets littered all over the place. Another really awesome feature about the car, and again, another reason why you would choose the white roof over maybe a black roof, is that you get these awesome little windows up here. Now, those did exist on the original Defender, and I think that's a really fantastic design feature. It also provides a bit of extra light in the cabin, so it is really nice. But because we have the white roof, you can actually see that the window is there, whereas on some of the other cars that I've seen, perhaps ones with the dark roofs, you don't quite get this prominent shape at the very top. So it is pretty awesome. And it sets it off really, really well. And I quite like the fact that you've got the contrast at the top there. You've also got the black roof bars, which we will probably put some ski racks on and all sorts of other things. So it's going to be quite cool. I'm looking forward to it. Another cool feature of the car as well, and I'll demonstrate this to you in a second. So I mentioned earlier, the car's really high, right? So there's no step. And again, this is another thing that I couldn't see in the specification list, and I'm kind of surprised by it. But there is no step. Now, I imagine that's probably so that it gives additional ground clearance or something like that when off-roading, for example. So, but Alex's original Discovery had a step, which did make getting in and out of the car quite easy. But for example, getting into this car, getting used to the button press now. So getting into this car, you do have to really kind of step up to get in. So I guess that's why you've got all of these really nice grab handles and things inside the car. But essentially, yeah, getting in and out of it, not necessarily easy. I haven't quite learnt the setup yet, where maybe there is an option whereby you can actually lower the car down from the outside, possibly using the app, or maybe have some sort of default mode, which starts the car in a much lower position. But I'm just going to demonstrate to you the different sort of settings you can have with the air suspension right now. When you're loading stuff into the back of the car, you have some buttons right here, and these buttons, for example, literally will lower and raise the rear of the car when you're loading stuff in. Now, I was actually quite impressed by how much it actually goes up and down. So watch this. I'm pressing the button now. We're lowering it in. So that does make things a lot lower with regards to getting stuff in. So you don't have to sort of lift things up as high as perhaps you might have to. When you close this boot, normally your kind of natural instinct is to slam it shut, because it's obviously quite a big door. But actually, all you really need to do in this instance is you just have to do that, and the car does the rest for you. Right, I'm just going to press the lower button now. So I think this is going to lower the car on both axles, and they call this arrival mode. So that is the car on its lowest setting, and just, you know, getting in and out. Definitely a lot easier to get in and out of. For somebody my height, somebody shorter might still struggle a little bit, so yeah. But, you know, it's a Defender. I mean, come on, there's only so much they could have done. So now, guys, I'm just going to do a bit of a walk around of the car, just to sort of go through a little bit of the design features in a little bit more detail. So again, as we've discussed quite a number of times, we've got the nice circles in squares feature, which I think does look really, really good. The grille on this does look really quite cool as well. So you've got the grille, and I think these black features against the colour of the car do look really, really quite special. Of course, matching number plate. So that was a Christmas present that I did get for Alex. It's the only thing that I've actually physically spent any money on for this car. She's done it all herself. That number plate, though, I definitely think sets it off. On this, these are super cool. So these are Really, really nice. And actually the other thing about this car is the bonnet is super, super high. So it's a really high up bonnet, and you really get that feeling when you're driving the car that you're driving something that is just commanding the road. So it really does work wonders for this car. The wheel arches, now we've got the wheel arch protectors coming hopefully next week at some point, but already these wheel arches are incredibly wide already, but I think the wheel arch protection panels will make it even wider, and therefore I think it will help make the car look even more aggressive. This is another feature of the black pack, so these being black work really well. I do actually quite like the fact that you can still spec a snorkel on this, and I believe that gives you additional wading depth when you're driving through water. These are 20-inch diamond cut alloys. They I think really do work well for the car. They look fantastic, and actually, to be honest with you, I prefer these over any of the other wheels that you can spec with the car. We do have the standard road tyres because, I mean, okay, let's be honest here. We did not buy this car to go off-roading with. We did buy it to go on long journeys with. However, you can get sort of mid-range off-road tyres for use on sort of occasional or more sort of rugged use, but you know, we've gone for these tyres because they just make sense for the car at this moment in time for us and what we're going to be using it for. Again, this panel here does look really cool. It is part of the chassis. It is where you would attach the ladder if you were to get the ladder option with the car as well. So around the back here, full size spare wheel. The option, the pack that we have chosen for Alex's car was the urban pack. So you've got the spare wheel cover, and that's going to be in silver, so it will match this panel here. And I think that will look quite nice actually. But yeah, that is another accessory that will be arriving next week, and we will show that to you guys in a future video. And I think that's pretty much everything there is to say about this particular car from the outside. I think hopefully you'll agree that I believe Land Rover have done an incredible job of this car. There's a lot of hardcore Defender fans, and when I say Defender fans, I mean original Defender fans, who have slated this car to an extent. And I think it is this whole discussion around, yeah, the iconic Defender could never be replaced with anything, but from my perspective, what would you realistically replace it with? I mean, let's be honest here, the car is old. It was developed years ago. It didn't go through many sort of technological advanced stages. So we've got to be honest with ourselves. What did Land Rover have to do in order to create a new Defender? And quite frankly, from an exterior styling point, I think they've absolutely nailed it. So I think the designer has done an incredible job of this particular car, and I think the interior features kind of just bridge that gap between what the old Defender was and the usability that is more in line with kind of what you would likely use it for. These can sort of start to rack up quite a sort of high price, but then look at things like the Mercedes G-Wagon. It is an iconic design. And it costs in excess of 100 grand. You know, I think this is a great proposition as a particular car that is nodding back to some of the iconic classic Defender features. The other lovely thing about it, and I'll talk about this a little bit more when I sit inside the car, is that you really do feel like you're driving something rugged, but at the same time, it's also really luxurious. And as we start to sort of go and talk about the interior now, so you've got this really nice, I mean, I know it's plastic, but it's done in a really kind of nice, rugged, hard-wearing way. And the colour option is incredible. I mean, I think it really kind of works well, and it matches with the white roof really nicely.